Hello everyone, welcome back to the Poppy Library. My name is Liz and this is KnitCast. You haven't seen me in a week because I am just coming back from a wonderful vacation in the state of Maine. Yes, I went to Maine. I stayed in several different towns and cities, and it was just the most wonderful trip one of the most wonderful trips I've ever had. It was so relaxing, very much needed, wonderful break from the heat. It even rained a lot while we were there towards the end. It was cloudy, it was wonderful. And now I'm back in Texas and it's still hot and we're in a drought, and vacation, let's just say, was very much needed. I'm happy to be back and I have lots to share with you about the trip and some new projects, some new crafts I'm getting into, and just an update on what's coming for this channel. So I'm excited. Let's get back into things. We got to start with my new purchase. I very much appreciate handmade crafts. So much so that I will, when I'm on vacation or I'm traveling or shopping in general, I will look for these things. Handmade pottery, handmade earrings, handmade everything. I really enjoy a crafter's expertise and buying their goods, supporting small businesses. It's very near and dear to my heart. I also own a small business, so it's always at the top of my mind wherever I go. We went to one of my most favorite places in Maine, which was Camden, Maine. I was able to stop at a yarn shop and also a pottery shop. This is a little mug that I got that reminds me a lot of Maine. It's just kind of reminds me of a seashell or a shell, but the colors are very representative of what I experienced and what I would gravitate towards in the state. And this is from Goodland Pottery, handmade stoneware by Kristen Dennison from Montville, Maine. So Kristen, thank you so much. It is the most precious piece of pottery that I own at the moment, and I'm just drinking some herbal tea because Lord knows I need to detox from all the butter that I ate. Which I'm not upset about. I had like my weight in lobster and oysters, which I should. When in Maine, right? So, a few things. Before I started this trip, story time, right? Before I started this trip, I was like, I want to wear my halibut sweater in Maine because it will be cold. I want to finish it by a certain date and time because I want to wear it while I'm on vacation. And I had all these plans. And they kind of been thrown out the window because work was so busy leading up to the trip. You know, life happens. Life happens. You just got to be flexible and move on. But I was eager and so excited to complete the project on my way to Maine. And that got scrapped because that project, with all of my notions, everything, got left in my car before I boarded the plane. I didn't notice it until I was right before TSA, and we parked our car far, and it just wasn't worth it, and I was upset, but I got over it eventually. Also because I packed an extra knitting bag in my check bags, so it was fine. So knitter's tip number 1, if you're doing a checked bag, would highly suggest putting something else in that check bag just in case you forget your knitting or for some reason your knitting gets confiscated. That's it. I shared my little story on Instagram, and the horror stories that everybody shared with me about their knitting getting confiscated, just being swiped off their needles, all of the things. 1, you scared me to death, and 2, I will never not pack an extra thing of knitting in my checked baggage. But thank you for sharing. It's very entertaining. Just one of those little knitter's experience that I think everyone is going to experience at least once, but I was saved by many local yarn shops in the state of Maine. I wasn't worried. I mean, I was going to stop there anyway, and it was a fabulous experience. Everyone was extremely pleasant, and I got a few new things, which I was planning on doing anyway, but, you know, it was just great. I felt very supported. My home away from home is always going to be a yarn shop, so that was really nice to experience. These are the lists of the people that saved me. So, I have a few new things I want to share. And I'll start with books because usually I don't have a knitting book to share. They're very rare because, you know, you should use your knitting books, pattern books, things like that. Go through the patterns and pick out a few that you like and make sure that, you know, I mean, they're going to last you, right? They're going to last you. They're pattern books. You have multiple patterns to work through, and they're great resources. So that's why I rarely buy them. I would like to try to go through one or at least knit one of the things in the book before I move on. So I went to one of my favorite places in Camden, Maine. I was just looking at this. They gave me a sticker. I went to the Cashmere Goat, which was it's on the river. There's a river behind it. And I'm trying to think because it's on the coast, so I don't want to say it's on the river or it's by the ocean. But anyway, I'm terrible at describing geography and land and stuff. So just I'm in creativity mode. That was not one of my best subjects. I'm very sorry. However, it was on the river. I noticed because we walked, there's a little bridge and an ice cream place nearby, and we crossed the bridge, and I was like, oh, my husband pointed out, like, hey, that yarn shop is on the river, like, it's on the water. Just really freaking cool. But the Cashmere Goat, beautiful yarn shop, wonderful people. I was so happy to be in there, and I was in there for like an hour, just looking at everything, maybe 3 or 4 times. And they had this book that I've been wanting to get, which is, I believe it's Moosh and Friends. I really got it. Anyway, it's by Cynthia Valet. And by Layton Publishing as well. And it is the sweetest little book of toys that you can knit. And I've been wanting to knit toys. Everybody knows that Instagram frog that's like extremely popular. Yes, I want to knit the Instagram frog, but I also want to knit these. Aren't they the sweetest? It's time to start thinking about holiday knitting, and I've been eyeing this book, and I cannot wait to get started. It is the sweetest little book. The thing that I love the most about this book, I mean, she names all of the characters, and they all have their little story and role within their little friend group. So this is the friend group, which I think is adorable. So when I knit mine, they're all going to be friends, and I'm going to create my own little stories, but they're going to have like adult stories, like, because I'm an adult knitting toys. But it's so cute. But the thing that I love most about this book is she really goes through the techniques of how to knit these toys. And she's gone into great detail about, you know, step-by-step processes of how to knit these, how to stuff them while knitting, giving them baths, things like that, and how to knit their garments, which are a little different than, you know, knitting the actual toy. And so I just thought that was just very valuable advice and information. What a great book. And each pattern, it's just so, well, I was skimming through it, I was reading through it in the store, in the yarn shop, and I was able to follow along very well, and I could visualize exactly what I would be knitting. And you know, this does look very challenging and hard, but the way she describes the knitting process for these animals is absolutely fabulous. And I'm excited to dig in. I've had yarn in my collection for a long time that I wanted to knit animals with, and so I'm so excited. How cute. Holiday knitting. right here. I'm so excited. Another thing that I discovered while at the Cashmere Goat was one, I wanted to knit my husband some socks. And so and they're house socks, before anybody kind of comes at me about why there's no nylon in it. Whatever. I'm gonna knit the damn thing. The heel and the toe have nylon in it, so leave me alone. I do know that you get a better sock when you have nylon in it, but I couldn't resist, and I felt like I needed to knit these socks for my husband. So I was able to get this wonderful color it's called Lynx, and it's in Malabrigio yarn, and they're Mahita base. And I thought that looks stunning because, yes, it's this it's very true to color, what you see on the camera. I'm looking at the camera. It's very true to color. And I also got a local yarn dyer from Maine, which they're called the Seven Sisters Arts. It's artisan dyed, inspired by nature. And it is 75%, they're meridian base, which is the fingering weight, which is 75% merino, 25% nylon. And they are on Ravelry as well with this name. This one's called Big Bang. So this is the heel and the toe of my husband's socks. And I also got another colorway in that same base called Lake, which this one is going to be for me because this reminds me of the colors of Maine. So I thought that was stunning. Just the color of the water, even the darkness, like just different parts of the wave, all of that. I just thought it was stunning. So I got all of that yarn there. And I started knitting just some basic socks for my husband. And this is how it's going. So I'm going to do an afterthought heel, which is my first time doing that. And I'm knitting this on a size 1. I usually knit socks on a size 0. I have a tiny foot, and shocking. And he does not. And so I have to knit a little bit of a bigger gauge for him. So that is how it's going. Knit up, it looks really cool. I like that it's not like pulling any color in any direction. It does look speckled and fun. So that was really fun. I was really happy to get that. And yeah, so again, all my knitting is pretty much gone on the wayside. All of my plans. Yes, I brought another project with me while on this trip that was in my check baggage. But we'll talk about that in a minute. I should continue with things that I acquired. Also, at the Cashmere Goat, I was able to get, I've always wanted to try a bar of soap for blocking and washing your knits. And this one is from Long Winter Soap Co. Right here. And I believe you say it Damariscotta. Damariscotta. My husband's been correcting me this whole trip. It's from Damariscotta, Maine, where we stayed in a cabin for 4 days. No, 5 days, 4 nights. Most wonderful place. Beautiful sunrises. I have a few videos, aerial videos, of near the place that we stayed in Clam Island, which we kayaked to. It sounds so adventurous, but I was honestly scared to death that I was going to get run over by a boat. I was nervous. It was a little choppy out there. I'm not the most adventurous person, but I'm laughing thinking about it now, but I was not laughing at the time. And we kayaked to this little island called Clam Island, and it was one of the most beautiful little islands I've ever been to. It was full of ferns, and it was really windy on one side of the island that we were walking around on this little trail that was on the island. And it was just like, my husband and I described it as like, it was nature's fan was on. Like, you could hear the ferns just moving and all the trees and the birds, and it was just so magical. So magical. Anyway, I got a soap from that was made in that area, in that town, and it smells so delicious. So it's Fig and Forest, and it smells like Maine to me. It smells like the cabin. It smells like memories. So I'm happy to have that. And on the way to the cabin, I also stopped by Halcyon Yarn, and they were unfortunately closed to the public, but however, you can call and you can order, and you can do like a door-to-door pickup. And so that's what I did. I sat out in the parking lot, and I was able to like just kind of chat through what I was looking for. I saw the new sweater, which I will talk about that in a second, by Loopy Mango. And I really wanted to knit that in this kind of like lime green color. And so I needed a really chunky yarn. And so I got Lamb's Pride Bulky, which is 85% wool and 15% mohair. Very affordable, extremely affordable, because you need a lot of it for a bigger size. And chunky yarn can get very expensive. But this one was extremely affordable. I think it was like maybe $12 a skein. I could be wrong, but it was like under 20, under 15. Maybe it was under 20. But this is the color, and it's just a lime. It's called lime, I think. And it's actually extremely nice. I knit a swatch with it. I'm really experimenting with adding different yarns to my swatch, but it is very soft to the touch. I think that is from the bit of mohair. I wore a little swatch for a little bit underneath my shirt to see if it was itchy, and it wasn't. And so that was very pleasant. And so it'll be a nice chunky statement sweater that is going to knit up really fast. So I knit a gauge. I'm a little bit under gauge, and so I'm going to have to do some adjustments in math for this one for the large size. And I don't care. Sure, I'll do some adjustments because my gauge came out a little bit bigger than what is called for. So that's that. I'm really excited about that color. So thanks to those yarn companies that saved me and gave me projects. My goodness. My last thing that I acquired on the trip was, I think, the most spectacular thing I could have acquired. And it was something that I've been thinking about. I'm still thinking about it. It's something that I'm going to explore in Rhinebeck, which later this week we will get another Notes from a Knitter, how to get ready for Rhinebeck. It's time, y'all. It's time to get ready for knitting. It's Knitting Festival Palooza right now. Season, it's starting, okay? So I want to be able to help you prep for going to one of these things as an event planner, somebody who's been in events for the longest time. I can help you. You can trust me. We can figure this out. As somebody who forgot her knitting, pack your extra knitting. That's all I gotta say. I know I don't sound like the most liable person right now, but I promise I can help you prep for this. So that's another video that's coming out later this week. But one of my most favorite places that I went to was Port Fiber in Portland, Maine. Now, Portland, Maine is just magical. We started our trip in Portland, Maine. We ended our trip in Portland, Maine. I did not have a bad food experience there. I ate my weight in seafood. Like, probably 2 times over, I feel. Anyway, I could go on about Portland, Maine. It was beautiful. The weather was wonderful. But I went to Port Fiber, and I've been thinking about using a hand spindle. Yes, a hand spindle. A hand drop spindle? A drop spindle. I've been thinking about buying a drop spindle for the longest time. And I've been wanting to spin for the longest time. I do think where I'm going towards is an e-spinner, but I wanted to try one of these spindles for the longest time. I would like to preface this with, I am learning. I am not ashamed of learning. Learning something new, it can bring out a lot of insecurities in people. For me, and particularly with fiber or knitting, I somehow do not have any kind of like self-conscious thought while I'm learning, because people do this for years. Like, this takes a while to learn. It's a craft. I mean, the word craft, hello, like, you gotta work at it to be good at it. And so with that being said, my yarn, I'm just figuring out how to spin this and not have it fall on the ground. So it is like chunky in some parts, but this is my drop spindle, and I don't have the name on it because it's covered with yarn. So oops on that. The minute I walked into that shop, it felt like at home. They were playing some good jams. I had some music videos in my mind while I was listening to all the songs, because I love music videos. Yeah, Casey is the owner, who likes to dance, make things, and drink coffee. That's a great description. And Casey taught me a lot about how, asked me a lot of questions, like, where do I live, and, you know, what kind of yarns do I usually knit with, and it's fingering and sport weight because of where we are in the state of Texas. I just don't DK weight yarns, like, it'll have to be really cold for me to wear that. So this was the best spindle to kind of get started with for me. There are, like, the great thing about spinning so far, I could talk about spinning now for my learning process for a long time, but the thing that's so fun about this is that, like, I get it at some points in the spinning process, like, or I get in the flow and then it goes away and I'm like, dang it, like, it's so addicting and I just want to do it right. And like, you can see kind of in here a little bit, oh god, I know, this is called learning, but like right here, like, that's when I was getting like the weight that I wanted. And when it was happening, I was like, oh, and I got in a rhythm and I was like, this is it. And then it went away and I was like, dang it. So it's very addicting and I'm loving everything about it. I still have a lot to learn, a lot to research, but I couldn't wait to get started. The most, I think, like, I don't know, what's the nostalgic thing about it is it's also some roving that was by Casey as well. And it's called I'm a Barbie Girl. That's fun. And it's 2 ounces. It's hand-dyed, carded, 55% BFL, 7% Shetland, 7% silk, 21% Southdown, and 10% Sari silk. And so it is a beautiful, I think you call this roving, and apologies because I don't want to disrespect anybody that's been doing this for a long time. I was able to get this fiber. I'm going to call it fiber until I do more research, but I believe it's called roving. I apologize. I'm still learning all the ins and outs of what everything is called, but I will get there. And this is the fiber, and it's so beautiful. It's all my favorite things. Lots of fun pops of color, everything. So that was pretty nostalgic. Like, I will always think of that. My first fiber that I bought was from the place that I brought my drop spindle from, and everyone was so nice and wonderful. And of course, while I was there, I had to get some more spin cycle because I just love that yarn so much for my holiday project, which is coming up on a different video. But this colorway is Devilish Grin. Ooh. And it is the sport weight, which is dyed in the wool. So that is that. And that, yep, it's pretty true to color. Good lighting in here today, I guess. Anyway, so those were the things that I acquired while I was out on vacation, which is one of my funnest times, most joyful time. Yeah. One of my most relaxed time to just shop and take my time and really be thoughtful with what I'm buying and get the thing for our project and all of those things. So I was very happy with everything that I bought, including this mug again, because it's my favorite. All right, let's talk about projects. Even though I didn't bring my most treasured project that I wanted to finish, which was my halibut sweater, and also my ranunculus, there are no updates on progress there just yet, but there will be this week. If I don't get fully consumed by spinning. But I was able to knit and finish. Some knitting mittens. These are fingerless mittens. They look like this. And I use that Lamb & Kid yarn that I bought at Wool & Folk, finally. And didn't even use half the skein to knit these. And this, I should probably show the pattern here. That'd be smart. Okay, so the pattern for those fingerless mittens is Cloudburst by Arian Gray. And it is a free pattern on Ravelry. And so I was able to just download it and get started. This was one that I carried in my emergency bag. And I call these knitters fingerless mittens because I knit Continental, and this is just a little tidbit. I knit Continental, and when I do that, I wrap my yarn around my pinky finger, and that holds my tension. And so this mitten needs to be a little bit shorter on my left hand because of that. If it's too far up, it won't be able to wrap around my finger and it's going to get caught. So this is my knitting hand, my Continental hand that I wrap my yarn around here. And this one is my picking hand. And as you can see, I don't need that pinky covered, so it'll cover more of my hand. And so I can knit in the wintertime. And this is particularly for outside. It is neon. I'm not touching anything. All I'm doing is knitting with these while I'm outside. And this is something that I've been craving for wintertime. And it was a nice, easy project to have on the go. And they're currently being blocked, so I kind of messed that up. But it was a very easy pattern to follow. It's my first mittens. And so I was a little nervous about the thumb, like breaking off to the side and if I would be confused, but it's really not. It's a basic lace pattern in the front. I would say you only have to learn how to do a make one right and a make one left. And that's it. Everything else is, and a yarn over. And that's it. Everything else is a knit stitch. So that was really easy and fun. And it was a nice project to have on the go while on hikes. And same thing with the socks. That is the travel tip for you knitters is to have small things on the go. You just put a little fanny pack, call it a day, and made everything much more pleasurable when instead of lugging around a sweater. Not to say that I wouldn't lug up around a sweater while I'm traveling to knit, but whatever. And is that all I have? Oh, I was going to share the pattern that just blossomed in front of me while I was on this trip, and that is the Loopy Mango's new sweater that just caught my freaking eye, and it is called the Tomboy Sweater. I cannot wait to knit this. I had a very interesting first Loopy Mango experience where I bought Merino number 5. I didn't know how to gauge. I didn't know how to swatch for gauge. I didn't know how to do any of that. I was just like, I want to do it. It's chunky yarn. It'll be fine. I knit it too small, and now it sits in my closet. And it's orange. It's this beautiful shade of orange, and I'm kind of going to rip it out and put it into a hat or something. So I learned my lesson with that. And so I want to knit a neon green version of this sweater. It just looks stunning. And I love the crop version. I love how it rolls. I love the way it looks. I was floored. floored. I thought it was the most beautiful thing I've ever seen. So that is my next project. Those kinds of knits, they go by fast with that chunky yarn. That swatch was like knit in record time. And I'm saying it was knit in like 30 minutes. Yeah, 30 minutes tops. So you can only imagine how long it's going to take me to knit that sweater. I wonder if it'll take me like, I'm not even going to time myself because I'm already overcommitted on what I'm doing this week. So just knock it off, Liz. Finish what you got. So I will be knitting, working on my ranunculus because that needs to be done. And also my halibut sweater, which I started getting on that today, and it was just very soothing to be back into that color work. Freaking love color work, guys. It is awesome to see that project just kind of come to life. I'm wondering if maybe in my future a full colorwork sweater might come together. I don't know. I still have all my other projects coming, and we have some special notes from a knitter and coming up, and some home decor videos coming up this fall. So it is time. It is time to start getting your projects ready for winter, for fall, knitting those. It's still hot here. I will say the days are getting shorter. So that kind of tells me like seasons will be changing. However, it's still like 105 degrees every day for the next 2 weeks. I looked up like historical data just to, soothe my brain. I think it starts to change a little bit in mid to late September. So I have about like another month, a little bit less than this. I'll get through it. We're already past the halfway mark, so it's just smooth sailing until then. But other than that, I think that's all I have today. I look forward to a lot of knitting this week and a lot of projects, a lot of videos coming. Thank you so much for your patience and your understanding while I was out. I was so sad I couldn't do a video. I love doing these, and I'm happy to be back and do this again and talk with you again, and talk about new projects and finished projects in the next one. So thanks again for joining me. Until next time, I will talk to you later. Bye.